Shalom, my name is Todd Bennett, and today I'd like to address a question that's often asked, and that is, did Jesus declare all foods clean? Now, it's interesting that anybody familiar with the Old Testament scriptures, better known as the Torah, would know that there are commandments that indicate what we can eat and what we can't eat. In fact, it declares certain things clean, certain things unclean, and it really provides the definition for what is food, what we can ingest. The creator is actually telling us, hey, I made you, and this is what I want you to eat, and this is what I don't want you to eat. It's made to bless us, and that's something that people don't commonly understand. They think that the dietary instructions are somehow meant to restrain us and to deprive us of some of the good things in life, and it's the exact opposite. The commandments are meant for blessings, and those that do not follow the commandments end up getting into curses. And a good example of that can be seen in just the diet of our society today. People eat whatever they want, and we have terrible diseases and all sorts of illnesses that people are suffering from because they reject the commandments of Elohim. They don't want anybody messing with what they eat and or telling them what they can and cannot eat. And as a result, they end up getting all sorts of sickness and diseases. So if you read the Torah, it's very clear that the commandments are meant to be a blessing, not a curse. Okay. Yet for some reason, there's this concept or this belief in Christianity that these commandments were somehow a curse, that nobody could obey. And it's pretty easy to obey the dietary instructions. There's just a very detailed list of what's food and what's not food, and it's not too difficult by any means. But anyways, people think otherwise, and this belief is based upon another incorrect notion that somehow when the Messiah came, he abolished and destroyed the commandments. He did away with all of that, and now we're not under the law. These are different doctrines that we talk about in various books throughout the Walk in the Light series. But today we're just going to focus on the dietary instructions. And it's interesting that people have that belief about the Messiah when one of the first teachings that he gave, we read about it in Matthew 5, was very specific on this issue. He said in Matthew 5:17 through 18, "Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, not one jot or tittle will by no means pass from the Torah till all is fulfilled." So basically, he's saying, as long as there's a heaven and earth, none of this is going away, and don't you dare think that I came to abolish it, because I didn't. So that's a very definitive statement, and there's no real question about it. So therefore, the Torah and the prophets are still very valid, and along with that would be the dietary instructions. But the problem is there's one other verse that people hang on, and it's found in Mark 7. And let me read that, Mark 7:18 through 19. This is when Yeshua was in a confrontation with the Pharisees. And he said, "Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside cannot defile him, because it does not enter his heart but his stomach, and is eliminated?" And then we read, "Thus declaring all foods clean," or "thus purifying all foods." It depends upon the translation that you're reading. But the problem is that last statement, "thus declaring all foods clean," or "thus purifying all foods," is usually always in parentheses or in italics. And the reason for that is because Yeshua never said those words. It's very clear that that was a translator's insertion into the text, and that's why it's noted accordingly in parentheses or italics. He never said that statement, and that statement is really a very ignorant statement, because he never would have declared all foods clean, because food is already clean. Again, food is defined in the Torah. Food is what we are allowed to eat. So it wouldn't even make any sense to declare all food clean, because all food is already clean. All right. So this passage had nothing to do with him negating the dietary instructions. Again, I already said that it was in the context of a controversy, particularly with the Pharisees and the scribes. And we could read about that in Mark 7, 2 through 9 above. Let me start with 2. Now, when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with undefiled, that is, with unwashed hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and the Yahudim do not eat unless they wash their hands in a special way, holding the tradition of the elders. So here's what we're talking about. We're talking about a tradition, not a commandment, that you wash your hands before you eat. In fact, that's a tradition that's still in Judaism. And when any Orthodox Jew goes to wash his hands, he actually says a prayer, and he thanks God for the commandment to wash their hands before they eat. Well, it's not a commandment, it's a tradition of the elders, as we read here. But as we read on, we'll see that the Pharisees had a tendency to elevate their traditions over the commandments. So they would end up following their traditions as if they were commandments and then ignoring the commandments of Elohim. And that was one of the real big issues that Yeshua had with the Pharisees. And you can understand a lot of his controversy with them when you understand that underlying problem. Well, let's continue. When they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash. And there are many other things which they have received and hold, like the washing of cups, pitchers, copper vessels, and couches. And in Mark 7:5, then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why do your disciples not walk according to the tradition of elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands? Again, it's the unwashed hands issue. And he answered them and said, well did I say or prophesy of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of Elohim, you hold the tradition of men, the washing of pitchers and cups and many other such things you do. He said to them, all too well you reject the commandment of Elohim that you may keep your tradition. Okay? So that's the context of the passage, is this tradition that you need to wash your hands before you eat, and Yeshua condemning them for elevating their traditions over the commandments. And so there we have it. Okay? Do you wash your hands before you eat? He's saying rubbish. I mean, it's not a commandment. You don't have to follow these traditions. If you have some dirt on your hands and you happen to eat and some dirt gets inside you, guess what? It's going to be expelled. So when you understand that in its original context, and now you look down at Mark 7:18 and 19, do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside cannot defile him, because it does not enter his heart but his stomach and is eliminated? Now you understand. You get a little dirt in you when you eat, it doesn't matter. It's going to get out of you, okay? This had nothing to do with Yeshua eliminating or abolishing the dietary commandments. So this is an issue that's dealt more thoroughly in the Walk in the Light series entitled Kosher. And I would encourage you to go to our website, order the book if you have more questions. There are different passages that also cause some people problems, but I assure you there's an answer for all of them. When you read the scriptures in their proper context, it always becomes evident and clear. The problem is when people cherry pick certain scriptures in order to support their lawless thinking. That's when people get into problems, and that's when they find themselves living lives of lawlessness. And we're here at Shema Yisrael to try to help people untangle themselves from those false doctrines. Like I say, many people have inherited these ideas that Yeshua somehow did away with the commandments, that the commandments are bad. And again, that's not supported by the scriptures, but it is supported by traditions. So the question is, are you going to follow traditions or are you going to follow the commandments? And Yeshua said, if you love me, you keep my commandments. And keeping his commandments are a way of expressing your love for him. And it's also a way that we bring the blessings of Elohim upon our lives. So I hope you found that helpful. And again, go to our website, www.shemayisrael.net. Check out our other teachings, check out our books. And until next time, shalom.